school staff, we answer to many constituencies. Ultimately, what this document addresses is our most important constituents and the future we will help them create. This budget presentation fulfills my legal requirement to provide for you and the Board of Supervisors an estimate of the funds needed for the public education of Loudoun students. Beyond fulfilling a legal responsibility, it is designed to support a public institution that exists to improve individuals and our society. On Sunday, as we finished the 30th Annual Excellence in Education Banquets, I told the 236 students we honored that I wanted them to make the public school system, wherever they eventually make their home, as good as the one that nurtured them. In other words, I asked them to seek the same return on investment that Loudoun citizens expect. When we constructed the budget being presented tonight, we kept that thought in the forefront when making decisions. Loudoun County Public Schools is a school system worth emulating, and we want to keep it that way. We'll do that by investing in the people, equipment, and sound teaching practices that have made this school system a recognized leader in public education. Now I'm going to talk about the return on investment the citizens of Loudoun will receive through this budget. Our student achievement is a testament to our return on investment. Our on-time graduation rate and number of advanced studies diplomas set state standards for large school divisions. Over 95% of the class of 2012 graduated on time, and almost 70% earned an advanced studies diploma. Even in trying economic times, our graduates are earning a significant scholarships to further their education. I believe this last class, $28,824,000, almost a more than a $5 million increase over the class before them. This slide represents the measurements that show we are preparing the students we send forth ready to continue their education and compete in an increasingly global economy. Beyond graduation, more than 88% of our students attend college. Not only do they attend college, they attend some of America's best institutions of higher learning. At the same time, our dropout rate is less than half the state average. We also have received state, national, and international recognitions that show our schools are highly regarded. 10 LCPS high schools were ranked highly by the Washington Post's Challenge Index. 2 more were not yet eligible to be ranked. Loudoun has 10 middle schools designated as schools to watch, the most of any jurisdiction in America. Our SAT scores have risen as our participation rate has grown, and state and national scores have declined. 6 Loudoun County Public School students participated in the International Space Olympics in Russia this year. The impact the school system has on Loudoun's economy goes far beyond the statistics we track. During the State of Education address to the Chamber of Commerce in September, I reviewed the economic impact the school system has on the local economy as calculated by Walden Economic Consulting. As you can see, successfully completing a public school education and having the intellectual tools to go on to further educational opportunities have a huge real-world impact on individual economics. Each LCPS class will see an increase of at least $700 million in their lifetime earnings from having a high school diploma. And LCPS graduates who go on to college earn an additional $122 million in their lifetime income. We're not a traditional business, but we use sound business principles when putting together our budget. We understand there are competing constituencies who you, as our school board must address. So I hope as you look through this budget document, the concerns of the taxpayers, the concerns of our students, our staff, and parents are all met. This chart shows details of the student growth over the past 6 years. You see that in fiscal 08-09, we had 57,009 students enrolled in our school system. That's the 08-09 school year, fiscal 9. In fiscal 14, the 13-14 school year that this budget covers, we expect to enroll 70,855 students. Our projected enrollment shows an increase of almost 14,000 students, or 24% over the past 6 years. We continue to experience more growth than any school system in the Commonwealth, and are expecting about 2,566 more new students next fall, as illustrated here. The number of school buildings during the same time period has gone from 75 to 84. This chart shows our budget growth over the past 6 years. You can see that we were able to contain costs during the recession, but we cannot continue to absorb the cost of new students indefinitely. I wish that this budget could be one of new initiatives and expansion, but the economy still does not allow for that kind of improvement and a growing student population. Staff from throughout our school system and I have examined current programming to be sure that what we do now is meeting student needs. We have only budgeted for those improvements that must be made. The primary budget changes can be attributed to student growth, salary, healthcare, and VRS increases or personnel costs, and technology. Funding for growth totals $26.8 million for staffing to support the additional 2,566 students we're expecting, and to open 2 new elementary schools next fall. You'll notice in this budget there are no salary increases, no salary tables yet. Instead, salary changes include a 2% placeholder to address the potential recommendations of the salary study. Last year's salary package, by comparison, cost almost $14 million. And we hope to have a salary recommendation for you when you come back in January. VRS, another change agent in this budget, requires a mandated shift of another 1% from LCPS to the employee. But that shift carries an increased cost of about $1 million for the school system. Obviously, the shift of the 1% just goes from one budget category to another. But with each percent that we move, there's an additional 1% cost for you and the school system. Group health insurance is self-funded, and the level of claims expected result in a need for a 10% premium increase to be shared equally by school board policy, by LCPS, and its employees. Technology increases will allow us to refresh 47 schools' lab and audiovisual computers. You know we've been delaying and sort of getting a backlog of schools that needed to be refreshed. We are recommending a virtual desktop initiative to reduce the cost of the refresh. The Technology Hardware Committee is working to determine and recommend the most effective teacher device to enhance instruction and productivity. This graphic shows that the money we propose to invest will go exactly where it should, for the instruction of our students. We have kept any additional costs not associated with the classroom to a bare minimum. The fiscal year 14 revenue changes that make up my request are provided here. An increase in the county transfer of $45.8 million. The LCPS budget, as you know, is the first out among school divisions. Many are waiting on more firm state dollars for K-12 before superintendents present their budgets. But based on the state biennium budget passed last spring, we should receive state funding, a state funding increase of about $6.6 million. Now, the governor will introduce his budget on December 17th, and as always, we hope for additional dollars. Federal funding will increase by about $200,000, but note the impact of federal sequestration is not yet known. That other category includes such things as advanced placement fees, athletic fees, and building use fees. It is expected to increase about $700,000. No matter what we do, the efficiency of LCPS, and I believe all public education institutions, is always going to be called into question. I want to tell you, we are efficient. So let's look at some charts that address that issue head on. The time-tested benchmark, both nationally and locally, for school division fiscal efficiency is cost per pupil, CPP. This chart shows our cost per pupil over the past 6 years. We are very efficient in that our cost per pupil for fiscal year 14, projected to be $12,270, is less than the cost per pupil in fiscal 09, $12,780, and again, that's 6 years later. Comparing our cost per pupil to our neighboring jurisdictions also illustrates our efficiency. Fiscal year 14 data is not yet available, although our standing will likely remain the same, next to the lowest among our neighbors. I did a little math just to figure out, if we were to have the amount of money that Fairfax has to spend per pupil this year, you would be able to have a budget $134.4 million greater than the budget you're working under right now. There is a significant difference. I can safely say that LCPS will continue to be a good investment for our community. This budget continues our focus on placing the overwhelming percentage of our personnel in our schools, where you have demanded they be. Again, when compared with our neighbors, it shows our placement of personnel is efficient. This last section is entitled, Did You Know? Because we had an economic analysis of the LCPS impact on the community conducted last summer by Walden Economic Consulting. I talked about this a bit to the Chamber of Commerce in my State of Education address, but it bears repeating here because we want our community to know the real-world economic impact of the investment that I'm requesting they make. Every job and every dollar invested in LCPS results in a gain for Loudoun County. Every $1 spent by LCPS and retained in the county economy results in total spending of $1.59. Every one job in LCPS is associated with 1.28 total jobs in the county. I know the calculations to get to this are complicated, and so we'll make the full report from Dr. Michael Walden available on our website so that those who like getting into the details can see all of his analyses. Each student we help successfully reach graduation will result in reduced public spending on crime, public health, and welfare in the future. And those savings are calculated at between $220 and $300 million in reduced costs. So, in summary, LCPS positively impacts the Loudoun community economically, socially, and financially. Economically, in increasing graduates' lifetime earnings. Socially, in reducing future public costs. Financially, in making the community attractive for households and businesses. What we propose spending in this budget will have a positive return on investment for for Loudoun County for decades to come. In other words, the spending we are requesting should be seen, I believe, as an investment in our future. Now, you have each received a copy of the budget, and I know you'll be going through it in detail, page by page, and staff and I are prepared to work with you. Our ultimate goal is to have everyone understand what we're requesting and why. And you have set up a number of budget work sessions designed to get to that question of what and why. This slide reflects those budget work sessions. We'll keep the web page updated to reflect the most current budget calendar so our community can participate in the budget process. But you see that your next session is Thursday, December 6th at 6:30. I'm sorry, that's tonight. The proposed budget is being presented. Next Thursday, December 13th at 6:30, you'll have a public hearing on the operating budget and the first budget work session. That's followed by work sessions on January 3rd, January 8th. There'll be another public hearing and work session on January 15th, and our hope is that you'll be able to adopt your proposed budget on January 22nd as part of your regular fourth Tuesday meeting. We now begin the budget question and answer period that will last until your reconciliation with the Board of Supervisors Appropriation in April. So for the next 5 months, we're going to be participating in the question and answer process. All responses to questions are published on both board docs and on the LCPS website. And we're going to ask that the same procedure be followed by board members that we've used in the past, that all board questions be submitted in writing to Lee Burton. She will take care of parceling them out to the person who needs to provide the answer. They'll come back for review, senior staff review, and then they'll be posted to the website so that everybody can see both your questions and the answers that we provide. The excellent school system you now govern was not built in a day or even a decade, but it cannot provide even better opportunities for our students if it is not properly funded. Parents, our business community, and our public in general expect excellence, and they have demonstrated their understanding of the need to properly fund the schools they want for our children. Staff and I look forward to working with you as you develop your proposed operating budget for fiscal year 2014. We all know that Loudoun's best days truly are ahead, and we also know that the success of our students will be the foundation of those best days. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hatrick. Excellent presentation, and we look